The hour of convening having arrived, all members of the House will please report to the floor and take your seats. All members of this House will report to the floor and take seats. The clerk will ring the bell. No. All
right, very good. Thank you.
Did you have a good weekend?
Wonderful weekend. Outside of that time,
three grandchildren fishing up at a place we have on the lake, and I was jealous because I wanted him to take me fishing.
The thought of going fishing.
That doesn't.
All members will please take your seats. We're about to have the morning roll call. We're about to have the morning roll call. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. Doorkeepers will please close the doors and keep them closed. Well, good morning. I hope everyone had a great weekend and ready to go to work today on Legislative Day 33. We will begin our day with scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. Our chaplain this morning will be introduced by the gentleman from the 132nd House District, Representative Mark Newton. Representative Newton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, good morning to all of you. It's a special treat that I have the joy to present my pastor and my friend, Dr. David McKinley. David's been in ministry over 30 years, proclaiming, inspiring, and encouraging listeners with foundational truths from God's Word. He does have a unique ability to convert complex biblical doctrine into understandable, everyday language that both challenge and especially motivates change. He's a senior pastor at Warren Baptist Church in Augusta, leading ministry in thousands of families across our region weekly. We're grateful he and his wonderful wife, Connie, will be celebrating their 10th year of ministry with us this year. David has previously pastored in Merritt Island and Boca Raton, Florida, and later in Dallas as teaching pastor at Prestonwood Baptist Church. He's author of 2 books, including one called The Search for Satisfaction. David and Connie are blessed with 2 children and now 6 grandchildren under the age of 9, 3 of which, like a perfect grandfather, this past weekend on Saturday, he took fishing up at the lake along the Savannah River in Augusta. So it's good to have a good weekend. A quick example of David's approach to ministry was evident at our church the first weekend in March at a two-day conference called Man to Man. On Friday evening and Saturday morning, he and a great team at Warren put together an opportunity for a group not often known to be the most numerous in church, that is men, from across our community, getting together for both fellowship and learning. Over 1,200 men, different backgrounds, different churches, races, nationalities, all together for a quick 2-day conference, all facing many of the same challenges and opportunities we all face. We were fortunate to have 2 previous house chaplains from earlier in the year that participated as co-leaders, Reese Stenner from New Hope here in Atlanta, and Dr. Charles Goodman from Tabernacle in Augusta. Also, Dr. Jack Graham from Dallas. What was also interesting is a couple of athlete ministers, NFL player Corey Redding and World Series champion Darrel by pulling together leaders from varied backgrounds to speak and to lead. David and the team were able to minister in a way that, well, I mentioned it earlier, it brings understandable, everyday language that challenge us and, in particular, motivate change. Change that makes a difference in lives, in families, and in communities. I trust you'll appreciate this as well as we hear today from Dr. David McKinley.
Well, good morning to each of you. And Mr. Speaker, I appreciate so very much the honor of standing in this historic house and having the privilege of addressing this esteemed body that is gathered, along with the guests and with your doorkeepers. What a wonderful group of people they are to meet and to greet as I've come in today. And I further appreciate, I think we should say that to them today. I do further appreciate the confidence that the gentleman from District 123 has shown, allowing me the privilege of coming today. 10 years ago, his wife was on the pastor search team that invited me to begin my years of service at Warren Baptist Church in Augusta. And we had the privilege for the first time of moving to this wonderful, beautiful state, and then living in the Garden City of Augusta has just been incredible. I was in Texas at the time. I went back and told the church there that I had heard the master's call and needed to move to Augusta. And I have to tell you, they questioned the spiritual motives of my life in doing that. And of course, we are just days away from the master's beginning in our community. I hope many of you will make your way over there. We would love to host as many of you as we could. If you can find badges and housing, please feel free to come, and we'd be glad to have you. We have pimento cheese sandwiches there, and my goodness, these peanut butter and jelly toasted sandwiches today, that is something to have here at this wonderful place today. You know, pastors and politicians actually have a tremendous number of common experiences and perspectives in life. One of them is that you make a lot of appearances, and you always go everywhere you go with a speech ready to be given, right? You also know that wherever you go and speak, you're always going to talk to people about money. That's something we have in common. And you know that you're here to serve people, but most people think your only purpose in mind is to fill the room with hot air when they see us come in. And probably the most common lesson that we all know, and that's something that we share, is this, that we know we can't make everybody happy, but you can make everybody mad. And I've learned that lesson along the way also. I think we know there's a lot more to the role and responsibility of who we are and what we do than these things. In particular, the representative oversight that has been entrusted to us, the resource management that has been given to us, is something that is very much a part of who we are and what we do. I know that many of you are here because of tremendous commitment to serve and even make sacrifices to be here. And as a citizen who lives in this state, I just want to say thank you for your service and for what you do. But if I could take one word, one single, straightforward, solitary word, and just make that word my word to you today, it's a word that I hope you will write down. It's a word I hope you will remember. I think you know that words are powerful. We live in a world that is filled with words, all kinds of words, positive and productive words, discouraging and destructive words. But the one word that I would give you today and that I would leave with you today is the word stewardship. Stewardship. Now, I know a Baptist preacher talking about stewardship, you're wondering next, did they close the doors because the offering's coming? And the answer to that is no. I'm not asking for an offering today, but I am challenging you and challenging me to remember the importance of the offering of our lives every single day. I would say that in my life, nothing has become more fundamental to me than to remind myself every morning that my life is to be a stewardship, that leadership is a stewardship. In fact, I think that's the most important principle of leadership, that who I am and what I am as a leader, the character and the commitment of my life is all about stewarding the opportunity and the resources that have been given to me. Stewardship is not simply a money issue, it's a life management issue. And if it is true that entitlement is the buzzword that defines so much of the social, generational, and political world of our day, then I think that stewardship is the byword to confront and correct the attitudes and actions that often promote selfishness and self-interest above our service. In Montgomery, Alabama in 1957, Dr. Martin Luther King offered this definition of stewardship. He said, Christian stewardship is the practice of systematic and proportionate giving of time, abilities, and material possessions based on the conviction that these are a trust from God to be used for His service and for the benefit of mankind. It is this basic idea of the absolute ownership of God that forms the background of our message. When an individual accepts this idea, the whole emphasis of his life changes from an emphasis that is placed on what he owns to what he owes. And I would say to you that every one of us must remember that we do what we do not because we own this position, not because we're in charge, but because we've been charged with a responsibility and we owe a debt of faithful service and good stewardship. The Apostle Paul wrote it this way in the book of Acts. He said, "So now, brethren, I commend you to God and to the word of His grace, which is able to build you up and give you an inheritance among all who are sanctified. I've coveted no one's silver or gold or apparel. Yes, you yourselves know that my hands have provided for my necessities and for those who are with me. I've shown you in every way by laboring like this that you may support the weak. And remember the words of the Lord Jesus who said this, it is more blessed to give than to receive." That's stewardship. Nowhere do we see stewardship more than we do in the life of the Lord Jesus Christ. Setting aside the prerogatives of His deity in heaven, Jesus was born in a manger. He walked among sinners. He was falsely accused and hung on a cross. He was buried in a borrowed tomb, and He rose from the dead on that Easter Sunday. And no single life has shown the life of service and stewardship more than the life of Jesus Christ. The seat that you're sitting in today, the office that I hold today, is simply something that I am a steward of in my life. Someone else sat in that seat before you, and someone else will sit in that seat after you. Now, I don't say that as a prophet. I don't know that about you. I'm just saying I know what life is. And for all of us, it comes down to this issue of being a good and a faithful steward. And so that's my challenge to you and to me as we gather on this day. Let's make the most of every opportunity that God has given to us. Dr. Billy Graham said this, "The legacy we leave is not just in our possessions, but in the quality of our lives. What preparation should we be making now? The greatest waste in all of our earth, which cannot be recycled or reclaimed, is the waste of the time that God has given us each day." So that's the question. What will you and I do with the opportunity of today? How will we manage the responsibilities that God has given to us? And what will we do to show the trust of those who have honored us with a place of service on their behalf? Stewardship. My prayer is that you will be a good and faithful steward. Would you stand and join me in prayer? Lord, I pray today that while those who are here will only know me for a day, I pray that they might know you and your great love and purpose for their lives. I pray that they will look to you and see the vital and essential need every day to occupy the seat and their place in this house as a stewardship for the good of those who serve. I pray, Lord, for these elected officials, not as politicians or members of a party, but I pray for them as people. People who today need wisdom and grace. People who need forgiveness and peace and strength and hope. Lord, I pray for their families, for their children, for their many personal needs. I pray for some who are in this room today, Lord, who are discouraged and who are doubting. I pray that you would strengthen and encourage them. I pray for some who may be facing disease, maybe that no one else knows about. and maybe even some who are walking through the valley of the shadow of death with those they love. Father, I pray that you would meet the needs of the people of this house, and you know the heaviness of the burden on their hearts. I pray for this house and for the many opportunities and responsibilities that are here, and Lord, may all who occupy a seat here be a steward of the resources and relationships that they have for the good of the people of Georgia. I pray for the fear of the Lord to rule in this house and that wisdom would be the fruit. And Lord, I pray for patience and perseverance and understanding and perspective. And I pray for the protection of the people of our state, for the provisions of those facing great need, for peace throughout our communities, and for progress and prosperity as we work together for the common good. And Lord, I pray for dependence upon your grace and confidence in your goodness to guide and guard our hearts today. And Father, I thank you for the honor and privilege extended to me to offer these words in this prayer in the name of my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. Would you join me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much.
I'm very honored that you allowed me to come. Thank you.
You
friend.
honor us. Thank
I'm
you.
blessed. Thank you. Will you come to Augusta this
I
year?
will.
All right,
Well,
good. We would love to.
Well,
have
I'm hoping to.
you. All right, I understand. Thank you.
Doorkeepers will unlock the doors. The chair recognizes Chairman Darlene Taylor, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Information and Audits has reviewed the proceedings of the previous legislative day and found them to be correct.
Chairman Taylor, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. The clerk will read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day.
Mr. Burns, letter 59, moves the following be established as the order of business during the first part of the period. Unanimous consents. Introduction of bills and resolutions. First reading and reference of House bills and resolution. Second reading of bills and resolutions. First reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions. Morning orders.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. First reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 1037 by Representative Watson of the 172nd, a bill entitled Act to provide a new charter for the city of Meigs in Thomas County, Georgia and Mitchell County, Georgia.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 1038 by Representative Hilton of the 95th, Chandler of the 105th, Clark of the 98th, Coleman of the 97th, Brockway of the 102nd, and others. Bill be entitled Act to authorize the governing authority of Gwinnett County to levy an excise tax.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 1039 by Representative Jaspers of the 11th and Ralston of the 7th. A bill being entitled Act to create the Big Canoe Water and Sewer Authority.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 1040 by Representative Jones, the 167th, and Hogan of the 179th. Bill being entitled An Act to amend Chapter 14 to Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to open and public meetings.
Governmental affairs.
House Bill 1041 by Representative Rutledge of the 109th, Cobble of the 111th, Welch of the 110th, Mathiak of the 73rd, and Knight of the 130th. A bill being entitled Act to amend an act incorporating the city of McDonough.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Resolution 1468 by Representative Gilliard of the 162nd, Hitchens of the 161st, Gordon of the 163rd. A resolution recognizing the Honorable Floyd Adams Jr. and dedicating a bridge in his memory.
Transportation.
House Resolution 1469 by Representatives Gravely of the 67th, Ralston of the 7th, Stevens of the 164th, Hanson of the 80th, Golick of the 40th, and others. A resolution urging the government of Israel to maintain its consulate general in Atlanta, Georgia.
Special rules.
House Resolution 1470 by Representative Gravely of the 67th, Ralston of the 7th, Tarvin of the 2nd, Tanner of the 9th, Coomer of the 14th, and others. A resolution recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and urging the President of the United States to relocate the United States Embassy to Israel's capital.
Special rules.
House Resolution 1471 by Representative Stovall, the 74th, McCall, the 33rd, Watson, the 172nd, Dickey, the 140th, and Scott of the 76th. A resolution creating the House Study Committee on the revitalization of the Atlanta State Farmers Market.
Agriculture and Consumer Affairs.
House Resolution 1472 by Representative Gertler of the 8th, Clark of the 147th, Cook of the 18th, Ridley of the 6th, Gravely of the 67th, and others. A resolution urging all local boards of education to implement the provisions of Georgia law regarding the arming of school personnel.
Rules.
House Resolution 1473 by Representative McCall of the 33rd, Pruitt of the 149th, Watson of the 172nd, Corbett of the 174th, Meadows of the 5th, and others. A resolution creating the House Study Committee on Industrial Hemp Production.
Agriculture and Consumer Affairs.
Senate Bill 264 by Senator Jeffries, the 17th bill being entitled Act to Amend and Act creating the Board of Commissioners for Rockdale County.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
Senate Bill 477 by Senator Parent of the 42nd, a bill being entitled Act to authorize the governing authority of the city of Decatur to levy an excise tax.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
Senate Bill 478 by Senator Parent of the 42nd and Miller of the 40th, bill being entitled Act to create the City of Brookhaven Public Facilities Authority.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
Senate Bill 480 by Senator Mullis of the 53rd, a bill entitled Act to authorize the governing authority of Walker County to levy an excise tax.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
That completes first readers.
Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 1030 by Representative Bruce of the 61st, a bill to authorize the City of Douglasville to exercise all redevelopment and other powers under the Redevelopment Powers Law. House Bill 1031 by Representative Collins of the 68th, a bill to provide a new charter for the City of Villa Rica. House Bill 1032 by Representative Smith of the 70th, a bill relating to general provisions regarding ad valorem taxation of property. House Bill 1033 by Representative England of the 116th, a bill to provide for a non-binding advisory referendum. House Bill 1034 by Representative Gassaway of the 28th, a bill to amend, revise, consolidate, and supersede several acts incorporating the town of Tallulah Falls. House Bill 1035 by Representative Smyre of the 135th, a bill to authorize the Magistrate Court of Muskogee County to impose and collect county law library fees. House Bill 1036 by Representative Martin of the 49th, a bill to provide for the clerk of the Superior Court of Fulton County to require that the tax parcel identification number information be included on documents. House Resolution 1428 by Representative Taylor of the 173rd, resolution recognizing Representative Doc Gene Maddox and dedicating a road in his honor. House Resolution 1429 by Representative Hanson of the 80th, resolution creating a House Study Committee on County Governance. House Resolution 1430 by Representative Belton of the 112th, a resolution encouraging the United States Air Force to deploy F-35 fighter jets to military bases located in the state of Georgia. House Resolution 1431 by Representative Cooper of the 43rd, a resolution creating the House Study Committee on Healthy Housing. House Resolution 1466 by Representative Price of the 48th, resolution creating the House Study Committee on evaluating and recommending on continuing or abolishing daylight savings time. House Resolution 1467 by Representative Stover of the 71st, a resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution so as to authorize the use of educational, special purpose, local option sales and use taxes for school security purposes. Through second readers.
Reports of standing committees. The clerk will read.
Representative Smith, in the 134th District, Chairman of the Committee on Insurance, has submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Insurance has had under its consideration following bills of the Senate. He's instructed me to report the same back to the House. Following recommendations: Senate Bill 8 do pass by substitute. Senate Bill 118 do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Smith, the 134th District, Chairman. That completes the reading of the reports of standing committees.
For what purpose does Chairman Shaw rise?
To make a motion.
State your motion.
I move that the rules be temporarily suspended so that a bill may be read for the first time and assigned to committee.
The gentleman has moved that the rules of this House be temporarily suspended so that a bill may be read for the first time and assigned to committee. The clerk will read the caption.
Unnumbered House Bill by Representative Shaw, the 176th Corbett of the 174th, and others, to be entitled an act to amend an act providing for a supplement to the compensation of the judges of the Superior Courts of the Southern Judicial Circuit.
On the gentleman's motion, is there objection? Is there objection? The chair hears none, and it is so ordered. Intergovernmental coordination. This House will come to order. House will be in order. If you are inside the chamber, please take your seats, suspend your conversations, give attention and respect and courtesy to the members in the well on morning orders. We are going to limit morning orders to 1 minute each this morning. The chair recognizes the minority leader, Leader Trammell, for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today. April is Genocide Prevention and Awareness Month at the state capitol. The goal of Genocide Prevention and Awareness Month is to educate the public about the history of previous and contemporary genocides and how to advocate against future genocides, to focus attention on the specter of genocide so that policies, strategies, programs geared toward combating the evils of genocide and mass atrocities can be developed. We may have some members in the gallery who are here in recognition of this month from the American Jewish Committee. If they're here, we'd ask them to stand and be recognized. They may be with our colleagues across the way in the Senate. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Chair recognizes Representative Ealum for a morning order.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. This is a wonderful opportunity to recognize a very special friend and a powerful man of God. Today I have the tremendous honor to recognize Pastor Lawrence Knighting and his beautiful wife in the gallery. Would you all please stand? Pastor Knighting is not only a man of God in words, he is a man of God in deeds. He loves people and he proves it every day. He is the senior pastor of St. James Baptist Church in Bacon, Georgia, where under his leadership his church has quadrupled numerically, financially, and spiritually. God has shown favor in his work, and I believe with all my heart that favor is because he is a leader, preacher, and teacher far beyond his church walls. He and his congregation take his ministry into the highways and byways where the needy are crying for help. His church sponsors food drives, car giveaways, events in the park, ball games, back-to-school supply giveaways, school scholarships, just to name a few. Yearly, his church sponsors community barbecues where they give away clothing, household goods to the poor who will never, ever darken his church door or give a penny to the tithe. He and his congregation take his ministry to the people who are in the greatest need. He is a personal mentor. I admire and appreciate him deeply. Pastor Knighton, please wave to the crowd. Would you all please stand and give him a wonderful People's House welcome?
Chair recognizes Representative Mallorin for a morning order.
Yes, and others. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning. Buenos días a todos. If I can have Representative Kirby also as well, Joyce, Representative Chandler, Representative Hilton. And this is a 1-2 punch. Buenos días. Good morning, everyone. This morning, it's a 1-2 punch. We're celebrating today the first Hispanic mayor in Gwinnett and the first African-American mayor in Gwinnett also as well. And I want Mayor Ray Martinez and Mayor Greg Newton to stand, please. Mayor Martinez took the oath of office of mayors of Loganville. He was born in Puerto Rico to Cuban parents. Mayor Martinez became the first Hispanic mayor. Mayor Martinez served as a guardian of this nation's freedom and liberty with the United States valiantly and courageously protecting his fellow Americans. Greg Newton, Mayor Newton, swearing was a symbolic and significant milestone for one of the Southeast's most diverse counties. His foresight, vision, and leadership skill have earned him the respect of his colleague and associate, and his commitment to making the city of Norcross the best city in Georgia is worthy of this recognition. So again, members, please, would you rise and welcome Mayor Martinez and Mayor Newton. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. All right, and they're going to come down.
Chair recognizes Representative Price for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the House. Joining me today are the delegation from the city of Roswell, and we're here with great pleasure to recognize, commend, and congratulate the Roswell Recreation Parks Historic and Cultural Affairs Department and the Roswell Recreation Commission upon being the first city in the state of Georgia to be awarded the National Recreation and Park Association Gold Medal Award for Excellence in Park and Recreation Management. And they may still be over in the Senate, but if anybody is in the gallery from the Roswell Recreation Department or the Roswell Recreation Commission, we'd love to recognize you now if you would stand. They're in the Senate. Right. Thank you. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Epps, Chairman Dickey, and Representative Bentley for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I want to point out for you that today is REACH Day in Georgia. REACH is an acronym for Realizing Educational Achievement Can Happen, one of the cornerstones of the governor's educational program. And I'm deeply honored to have with me today some REACH students, Superintendent Elgin Dixon from Twiggs County Public Schools, REACH coach Jackie Curtis, and the Twigs, one of the first REACH programs in the state. Will you please stand? And Taylor County as well, excuse me. You need to say anything? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, REACH scholars and their sponsors for being here from Taylor County, Twiggs County, and Crawford County. And thank you, members of the General Assembly, for your support of REACH Georgia. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Douglas for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm here, colleagues, this morning to give a report on what I reported on last Friday, our first ever state championship for our girls 6A Lovejoy High School. Gentleman for the 37s is always absent when I'm talking about this, so we will remind him about the great championship. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Silcox for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise this morning to recognize two distinguished guests in the gallery that I would like to recognize. Ms. Sally Levine, Executive Director of the Georgia Commission on the Holocaust, and Mr. Chuck Burke, who is also a member of the Georgia Commission on the Holocaust. If you would, please stand and welcome them to the People's House. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Wallace for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We've got a few other folks here. We're really happy to stand in front of you today to celebrate a great thing that happened Saturday night. The UGA Indoor Track and Field Lady Dogs brought home the national championship to UGA in Athens. Let's give it up for those Lady Dogs. This is the first national championship they've brought home. Their coach has brought them to top 3 finishes since 2015, and we also want to give a shout out to the men's team who came in 3rd place. Thank you. We at the well.
Chair recognizes Chairman Lynn Smith for a morning order.
Thank you, Ms. Speaker and members of the House. And actually, this is a morning order from your Coweta County delegation. And we're very honored today to tell you that our superintendent of our Coweta County school system, Dr. Steve Barker, has been recognized as the Superintendent of the Year in Georgia. And he is in the building today. We tried to get him over here, but you know about the other chamber, they have him. But we wanted you to know about this distinction and also to point out to you that one of the reasons he is made Superintendent of the Year is that he involves his whole school system. We had a serious threat a couple of weeks ago about a gun being in a school, but the reaction was so quick that we do not have a horrible, frightening, terrible story to tell you. It is his leadership and the involvement of our citizens in our county that we now have this moment to brag about our superintendent. I will turn and let either of my colleagues speak.
Just want to thank Dr. Barker for the great job he does for our kids and for the teachers in Coweta County School System.
Thank you very much for your attention.
Chair recognizes Representative Lopez for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, and I'm so glad that Mayor Newton actually stepped out of the gallery because I didn't want to rub it in that Meadow Creek High School, my high school in my district, beat out Norcross in the state basketball championship. And so I just wanted to do a quick shout out to Meadow Creek High School and congratulate them for this great win. Thank you.
House will be in order. For what purpose does Representative Mac Jackson rise?
To make a motion, Mr. Speaker.
State your motion.
I move that the rules be temporarily suspended so that a bill may be read for the first time and assigned to committee.
On the gentleman's motion that the rules of this House be temporarily suspended to allow a bill to be read for the first time and assigned to committee. Is there objection? Is there objection? The clerk will read the caption.
Unnumbered House Bill by Representative Jackson, the 128th, to be entitled an act to amend an act to create the State Court of Washington County.
There being no objection to the gentleman's motion, it is so ordered. Intergovernmental coordination. What purpose does Chairman Ballinger rise?
I'd like to make a motion.
State your motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the rules of this House be temporarily suspended so that a bill may be read for the first time and assigned to committee.
On the lady's motion that the rules of this House be temporarily suspended so a bill may be read for the first time and assigned to committee, is there objection? Is there objection? The clerk will read the caption.
Unnumbered House Bill by Representative Ballinger, the 23rd, and others, to be titled an act to amend an act to create the State Court of Cherokee County.
On the lady's motion, there was no objection. It is therefore ordered. Intergovernmental coordination. What purpose does Chairman Ballinger rise?
I'd like to make a motion.
State your motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the rules of this House be temporarily suspended so that a bill may be read for the first time and assigned to committee.
On the lady's motion that the rules of the House be temporarily suspended to allow a bill to be read for the first time and assigned to committee, is there objection? Is there objection? Clerk will read the caption.
Unnumbered House Bill by Representative Ballinger, the 23rd, and others, to be titled an act to amend an act to supplement the salary of the judge of the Superior Courts of the Blue Ridge Judicial Circuit.
There was no objection to the lady's motion, and it is so ordered. Intergovernmental coordination. Chair recognizes Chairman Tankersley to introduce the Doctor of the Day.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is with a great deal of pleasure that I'm here to introduce Dr. Michelle Zeanah. She has visited with us before. She attended Mercer University School of Medicine and completed her residency in general pediatrics at the University of Florida. Dr. Zeanah serves on the Board of Directors of the Medical Association of Georgia, the State Department of Family and Children Services Advisory Board, and is the chair of GAMPAC. She is president of East Georgia Physicians Group and past president of the Ogeechee River Medical Society. She's a graduate of the Georgia Physicians Leadership Academy and Leadership Bullock. In 2017, she was recognized at the annual meeting of the Georgia American Academy of Pediatrics by the Department of Public Health for her contributions to quality of care for children and youth with special health care needs. She keeps a close eye on our budget and what we do for children's health care, and I hope that she is well pleased this year. So if you will, please welcome Dr. Zeanah to the House. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Tankersley. Helping children go from being disability recipients to contributing members of their community is part of my personal mission, and I appreciate all this body has done to aid in that endeavor, including paying for ABA therapy for Medicaid recipients, increasing Medicaid reimbursement so that more physicians are willing to care for children on Medicaid. As a rural physician who sees mostly Medicaid, I understand about sacrificing to serve. And your job also involves long hours and little pay, but you do it because you have a heart for Georgia. And for that, me and my patients are greatly appreciative. Thank you.
What purpose does Chairman Dickey rise?
To make a motion, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker.
State your motion.
The bill be read, rules be suspended so the bill can read for the first time.
On the gentleman's motion that the rules of the House be temporarily suspended so a bill may be read for the first time and assigned to committee, is there objection? Is there objection? Clerk will read the caption.
Unnumbered House Bill by Representative Dickey, the 140th, to be titled an act to amend an act providing a new charter for the city of Byron.
On the gentleman's motion, there was no objection. So it is so ordered. Intragovernmental coordination. House will come to order. This House will be at order. We are about to honor some very distinguished visitors with us. The clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 1286.
House Resolution 1286 by Representatives Shaw of the 176th, LaHood of the 175th, Corbett of the 174th, Sharper of the 177th, and Jaspers of the 11th. A resolution recognizing March 12, 2018 as Valdosta State University Day at the state capitol and commending student leaders at Valdosta State University and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes Representative LaHood for an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and ladies and gentlemen of the House. It's my great honor and privilege today to have a very special member of our South Georgia community with us today. Dr. Richard Carvajal and other members of the VSU community are here with us today as we present this House resolution declaring today is Valdosta State University Day at the state capitol. Valdosta State University is the flagship university for South Georgia, servicing 41 counties. The enrollment is over 11,300 students. My daughter will be adding to that number this coming up fall. And we're very excited to have him with us today. And I'd like to invite Dr. Carvajal up to say a few words.
Mr. Speaker, Representative LaHood, it is an honor to be with you all today. We're also honored to be joined by a couple other very distinguished members of our delegation, Representative Shaw and Representative Corbett. This is a great day to be a Blazer. We say that every day at VSU is a great day to be a Blazer, but this one in particular, as you have so honored us by making this VSU Day. As I look out and see a lot of friends that I've worked with in other places over the year, you know that I love South Georgia, and that's what we see as our mission at VSU. We have a 41 county assigned service region, as Representative LaHood mentioned. If you go down I-75 to Cordele and draw an imaginary line across the state from the Alabama state line to the coast, we service everything south of that. We are uniquely missioned in the university system to do that, and we take that role very, very seriously. So we are honored to partner with you in the efforts that you are engaging in right now around trying to improve things for rural Georgia, and we're particularly honored while we're thrilled to have Representative LaHood here and thrilled to welcome him representing us in the House. We also are so honored that your former colleague and our spring 2018 commencement speaker, Amy Carter, we welcome her to her new role, and we know, Mr. Speaker, what a difference she will make working with you and others in trying to improve things for rural Georgia. So we thank you for this opportunity. I want to introduce very quickly two real rock stars that are with us today as part of our delegation. Anytime I bring Blaze with me, I know I'm going to take a back seat because that's who folks really want to take a photo with. And I'm also going to introduce very quickly Miss Karina Robinson. Everybody knows Karina, one of our alums who walks the halls with us today, and I know that she wants to say just a very quick word to you.
So we're so proud to be here today with Valdosta State, and there's many of you that I work with as an agency head here for Governor Deal, and we really appreciate your support of Valdosta State University. Go Blazers!
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Good to see you as always.
Clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 1440.
House Resolution 1440 by Representative Carter, the 92nd, Stevens, the 164th, Gilliard of the 162nd, Gonzalez of the 117th, Stovall the 74th, and others. A resolution commending Alfred Watkins and recognizing March 2018 as Music in Our Schools Month at the state capitol and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes Representative Doreen Carter for an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and colleagues. I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Alfred Watkins. He is the co-founder and music director and conductor of the Cobb Wind Symphony, the co-founder and president of the Minority Band Directors National Association, the former director of bands at Murphy High School, in which I graduated, where his bands consistently earned superior ratings at both marching and concert events. And Mr. Watkins is a retired director of bands, where he spent the remainder of his career at Lassiter High School in Cobb County. And this month being Music in Our Schools Month, we thought it was fitting that we brought an educator who has been superb in the area of music to come and speak with us today. And personally, I have to thank Mr. Watkins because Mr. Watkins is responsible for me going to college and ensuring that I became a responsible citizen, and proud to say he's the reason why I'm here today. Mr. Alfred Watkins.
Thank you for being here. Thank you so much, Representative Carter, Mr. Speaker, and members of the House. I'm excited and honored to be here today as March is Music in Our Schools Month. I had the pleasure of a 37-year career teaching school bands in Georgia, one with the Atlanta Public School System, and the last 31 years at Lassiter High School. I had the pleasure of winning 2 national championships with the high school band at Lassiter, marched in 4 Tournament of Roses parades, 3 Macy's Thanksgiving Day parades during my tenure. My beginning years at Murphy High School, I found a program in the school that many communities would look over. I found a young Doreen Carter and several other students 35 years ago that actually changed my life, and I hope to change theirs. I would like to give you one footnote to music in our schools and the value of education in our system. As our country is being faced with choices with regards to education in our children, after spending 37 years with those children in the classroom, I'd like to leave you one quote from John F. Kennedy. One person can make a difference, and everyone should try. Thank you so much.
We are going on to the rules calendar. Going on to the rules calendar. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 356.
Senate Bill 356 by Senator Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Jackson II, Unnerman of the 45th, Jordan of the 6th, Beach of the 21st, and others. To be entitled an act to amend Article 8 of Chapter 12 of Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to the Georgia Commission on the Holocaust so as to change the membership of the commission. This bill I am referred to the Committee on State Properties. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Representative Silcox to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I'm delighted to bring to you this morning Senate Bill 356. Senate Bill 356 relates to the Georgia Commission on the Holocaust, which was originally established by the state of Georgia in 1996 and whose mission it is to preserve the memory of the Holocaust and to promote understanding of its history. According to the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, approximately 6 million Jews, 1.8 million non-Jewish Polish citizens, 312,000 Serb civilians, 200,000 gypsies, 250,000 persons with disabilities, 1,900 Jehovah's Witnesses, 70,000 repeat criminal offenders, and an undetermined number of homosexuals and German political opponents and resistance activists were killed in the Holocaust. This bill would help significantly to promote the history and the mission of the Georgia Commission on the Holocaust. This bill does three things. Number one, it increases the number of members of the Georgia Commission of the Holocaust to include representation from both the majority and minority parties in both the House and the Senate. Number two, it moves the commission from the Secretary of State's office to the Department of Community Affairs, which currently houses other projects like the Martin Luther King Memorial. And finally, number three, it provides that the Georgia Commission on the Holocaust shall design, procure, and place a Georgia Holocaust Memorial in a prominent location with private funds. Most importantly, this bill will create a focal point for all Georgians to visit and educate their children and grandchildren on this very significant historical event. I ask for your favorable consideration, and if there are no questions, Mr. Speaker, I will yield the well.
You have no questions.
Thank you.
The chair recognizes Representative Teasley to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to come and add my word of support for this measure. Many of you have heard me share my story of how I got into politics. It was in the summer of 2002 that my church asked me to help chaperone a trip of high school students to Washington, D.C. And one of the last things we did is we went to the Holocaust Museum in D.C. And while I had had an intellectual understanding of what had happened, I'd never emotionally wrestled with the horrors of what the Nazi regime did. And for those of you who haven't been, what you do is you ride the D.C. Museum, you ride the elevator to the top and you work your way down the exhibit. And as I was coming down that first hallway, there's a little plaque, and Representative Silcox mentioned this, the people groups there. There lists off the people groups that the Nazis identified as lives unworthy of life. What a chilling phrase. What a searing of the conscience to be able to say that here are some people who are alive, they just don't deserve to be. And I was struck by that. And as I walked out of the exhibit, a quote that many of you have heard before from a Protestant minister by the name of Niemöller, who said, first they came for the trade unionists, and I wasn't a trade unionist, so I said nothing. And then they came for the communists, and I wasn't a communist, so I said nothing. And then they came for the Jews, and I wasn't a Jew, so I said nothing. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. So I walked out of that building thinking, I want to be involved. I want to see that government stands up to injustice in the future. I want to be a part of helping that happen. And so I want to thank Representative Silcox for bringing this, and for Senator Kirkpatrick for bringing this, because anytime we can shed a light on past injustice, it's important for us to do so. So I ask for your favorable consideration. I yield the well.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill. The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of Senate Bill 356 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines on the passage of Senate Bill 356. The ayes are 164, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 371.
Senate Bill 371 by Senator Anderson of the 24th, Stone of the 23rd, Mullis of the 53rd, Huffstetler of the 52nd, Miller of the 40th, and others. Be titled an act to amend Code Section 48-2-15 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to confidential information secured in the administration of taxes. This bill I am referred to the Committee on Ways and Means. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Representative Lott to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the House. I am here to present to you the SB 371. This is an exact word-for-word replica of HB 181 that we passed out of this chamber last session. There was one no vote, and otherwise this was an kind of an easy transparency bill that we talked through last year. What this bill does is it allows the Department of Revenue the ability to share the sales and use tax information, the names and the addresses only for businesses that have filed a sales and use tax for a requested period of time. Some of the limitations in the bill are that there is a designee in the local government, so one person would get the information, and that information is confidential and privileged. There is a penalty that matches the penalty of sharing confidential information in the Department of Revenue. That same penalty would apply to these folks if they were to share the information, but again, no financial data is shared. This is to benefit some of the questions and concerns that the communities have had. As many of us are aware, there have been times when we have found out, and my community is one of those, that found out sort of by accident that a business in our community that had been there for near 12 years was not filing to our county. They were incorrectly filing to another county. And unfortunately, in that situation, what happens is the county that is not getting the money has suffered a bit, but the recoupment that is then taken from the county who has unknowingly been receiving that money is far more detrimental even. So what this allows a community to do is to be able to get that information out of the Department of Revenue. And again, it is important to know that there are no financials given, only the names of the active filers in that community, so that you can do a little bit of a double check system as to whether or not your new businesses and your old businesses have been filing sales and use taxes to the appropriate county. And I'll yield for questions, Mr. Speaker.
Do you yield for a question?
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes Chairman Knight to your right for a question.
To my seatmate,
Yes.
you yield.
I do, yes, sir.
You and I have spoken about this. I want to make sure, and again, isn't it true that the confidentiality of our taxpayers, our businesses, is of utmost importance in the state of Georgia?
Yes, sir, it is.
And I also want to make sure in this bill, doesn't this bill contain language that says, and I want to make sure this is very clear, that no local, I want to make sure, can go in and address any taxpayer or business. Is that
Absolutely.
true?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking. So this bill does specify that any information that is given to that designated official that may lead them to believe that someone has improperly been filing, then they have to bring that back to the Department of Revenue. And it is the Department of Revenue that handles any investigations.
One further question, if
Yes,
I may.
sir.
I do, the gentle lady, as we have talked, isn't it true that I still do have concerns that perhaps at the local level that they may not understand or fully follow that? I want to know, if you could, are there any provisions in here as far as penalty that would address at the local level officials not following what the bill is?
That's another great question. I appreciate that. This is within this bill written that this is confidential and privileged information. It is to be handled by one designee. There is an opportunity for them to go to their commission in executive session only. There's a portion in here written as to how a member of your local governing board in executive session, if anyone has a conflict of interest, they must recuse themselves, which is also written within this bill. And then there is a penalty for the disclosure of information, and it is a misdemeanor, as it is with the Department of Revenue staff. Yes, sir. Thank you for your question. I'll yield for further questions, Mr. Speaker.
You have other questions, do you?
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes Chairman Reinders to your right for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentlelady yield?
I do.
What are the qualifications of the local person? What kind of qualifications do they have to be able to get my private business tax information?
There are no specifications in this. They just have to be an employee of the city, a designee of the city or county government.
A current employee, or excuse me, does the gentlelady further yield?
Yes, I do.
A current employee?
Yes,
or
they have to be
or
an
a current designee?
They are a designee. There are not specifications in here, as far as I can remember, that it states that they are a.
I'm just trying to wrap my mind around it. Does the gentlelady further yield?
Yes.
So am I hiring someone, if they're not currently working for the city or the county, to be able to go look at my private records with no qualifications?
Well, there is a specification in here that this person has to use it in the function of their job, that this information is based on the needing that knowledge for their understanding as their job is in the county, or local government. It would be unlikely that you would have a designee that didn't have that would have a need for that information if they didn't have a job that required them to need that information.
And finally, one further question, if I may.
You may.
How would I know, if there's 10,000 businesses in my county, how would I know which one that I should go look after?
So the way and the purpose of this legislation is that currently the Department of Revenue is unable to give out any information. So what can happen now is this designee can request a specific period. If it is the first quarter of 2017, and if that's what they choose to use for the requested period, the Department of Revenue can then share the names, again, only the information that is on their sales tax filing, their application, so their name and their business address. They can share that information of the
So they would share the names of all the businesses?
that are active filers for that period. And again, no financials are given.
Thank you.
I'll yield for further questions, Mr. Speaker.
You will?
Okay, I'll yield the well, Mr. Speaker.
No, it's up to you.
No, that's fine. Thank you. I'll yield the well.
We want everybody to be comfortable and do what they want to do. And she has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of Senate Bill 371 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. What purpose does Representative Pizzo rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that across Georgia there are some bad actors who underreport income and are effectively being subsidized by the people who are doing it the right way, and this bill helps remedy that problem?
I'm sure the gentleman believes that to be true. All those in favor of the bill are voting aye. Those opposed are voting no. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the passage of Senate Bill 371, the ayes are 163, the nays are 4. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 17.
Senate Bill 17 by Senator Ealum of the 45th, Miller of the 49th, again of the 47th, Mullis of the 53rd, Beach, the 21st, and others, to be titled an act to amend Title III of the Fiscal Code of Georgia annotated relating to alcoholic beverages so as to provide that governing authorities of counties and municipalities in which the sales of alcoholic beverages for consumption on the premises is lawful may authorize sales of such alcoholic beverages during a certain time on Sundays. This bill having referred to the Committee on Regulated Industries. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Representative Hanson to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. Today I bring you what will hopefully be for the last time, the brunch bill. This bill has passed out of the House before, only to be stalled in the Senate. But under Senator Unterman's leadership, you can see that the Senate Bill 17 is gloriously passed out of the Senate and is now before us for consideration and passage. Senate Bill 17 permits local governing authorities to the option to roll back the hours of Sunday alcohol sales for restaurants, hotels, and wineries. It is currently 12:30 right now. It would go back to 11 o'clock. However, there are a few steps that must be met first. First, the local governing authority, whether it be the City Council or the County Commission, must pass a resolution to allow this rollback, contingent upon a referendum. Second, the voters in your district must pass the referendum by 50% plus 1. A couple of points to note: this simple change is expected to increase sales by approximately $100 million and generate approximately $11 million in additional state and local tax revenue, and it has strong industry support. Secondly, this bill alone does not change existing local laws regulating alcohol sales. It does not authorize Sunday sales where a local community has not already authorized them. So, just to recap, with your yes vote today, you are not voting to roll back Sunday sales. You are voting to allow your voters to decide if they want to roll back Sunday sales to begin at 11 a.m. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to answer any questions, but if there are none, I will yield the well.
You have no questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Chair recognizes Representative LaRicchia to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning. I rise in opposition to Senate Bill 17, and I hope that all of you will hear my heart as I talk about this serious issue. I want to start by saying that I have a tremendous amount of respect for Representative Hanson. She works hard for her district. She serves with integrity and character and has an invaluable work ethic. This in no way is to be critical of any of my colleagues or my members. I don't intend to be judgmental. Let me tell you something about this old boy. I got a number 3 wash tub full of problems me and God have to work out every day. and I'm not going to start trying to judge others. I was elected to serve and not judge. When I was a little boy, I'd ride my bike down to the store. It was only a few blocks away, about 10 years old, and when I'd pull up to that store, on the awnings above the gas pumps, there'd be big letters that would say milk, bread, and eggs. And now today, if you fast forward about 25 years, you pull up to that same store with those awnings that says cigarettes, beer, and lottery tickets. To say that things are changing is an understatement in this state, and they're changing dramatically and a lot more quickly than we would have ever imagined. Now, I'm not going to go through all the statistics about how alcohol can be tied to homicides or severe trauma and sexual assaults and fatal motor vehicle crashes, suicides, teen pregnancy, domestic violence, suspended driver's license, unable to work and go to earn a living. But on my way to church, every Sunday morning, I drive right past a DUI defensive driving school. Early on Sunday morning, the parking lot is full. I want you to let that sink in for a minute. Ironically, one of the things that we learned in the Rural Development Council was one of the major challenges facing workforce development is an alcohol and drug issue. They can't pass a drug test, or they've lost their license and can't drive to work. Currently, you can sell alcohol on the premises Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. until almost midnight, and on Sunday from 12:30 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. That leaves only 4.5 hours on Sunday morning that prohibits the sale of alcohol in a restaurant. 4.5 hours. You know, our state's motto is wisdom, justice, and moderation. I just can't find the wisdom in expanding access to something that the data is beyond a reasonable doubt negatively impacts. I don't see the justice for all of the ones that are most negatively impacted by alcohol. I certainly don't see the moderation in having 107 hours of drinking versus 4.5 hours of prohibiting alcohol. Now, I want to say it again. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Representative Hanson and every member in here and anyone who chooses to drink responsibly. But if you have 6.5 days, 107 hours of drinking with only 4.5 hours prohibited, I'm asking you, no, I am begging you to vote no against this measure and just let us have those 4.5 hours. Mr. Speaker, I yield the well.
Did you sign up to speak, Representative Williams? You know, today is open, flexible, accommodating. Chair recognizes Representative Al Williams to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Right before I speak to this bill, I did want you to know that any day now the Speaker will announce my new chairmanship since he has so many openings. Thank you, and I'll be good to everybody. And let me say that I was listening to Representative Douglas, and I rise in opposition to this bill. While I feel very strongly about the people's right to decide, I like some of his numbers. We already decide. Most cities that would like to have Sunday drinking has it. 11 o'clock's a little early. One, if you out there by 11 o'clock, then we're going to be spending some money on helping you. You should be just getting over Saturday night, not starting on Sunday morning. And I know that the sound of the cash register excites us about the new tax revenue. But at some point, we need to draw the line. It's just that Sunday morning does not interrupt that much from brunch that's on the way. And if you just got to have it, buy it Saturday night, same tax revenue. I just think that there has to be some moment that we take a stand. Enough's enough. Now, I support any community that has voted to sell alcohol on Sunday with the specifications. I'm fine by that. But I'm with Representative Rick on this. You can give up 4 hours. And I don't know, and I certainly hope, and I'm sure that the gentle lady's numbers are correct. Just seems a little excessive to me, but I don't know if $100 million is enough to give up what we give up with this bill. With that, Mr. Speaker, and I don't want to take any more time because you want to make that great announcement in my behalf, so I will yield the well.
It will not be regulated industries. You know, many years ago, this House had a committee, standing permanent committee, known as the Temperance Committee. It would not be that if we still had it. There were some, do you have a question or you want to speak, Chairman? What purpose does Chairman McCall rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that back in 1939, my grandfather was the chairman of the Temperance Committee, and he and Reverend Williams would be along about the same thing?
The gentleman so states. I doubt that this bill would have been before the House at that time. What purpose does Representative Vernon Jones rise?
Mr. Speaker, is it not true?
Is this a parliamentary inquiry?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
State your inquiry.
I'm a little rusty, Mr. Speaker. It's been a while. Is it not true that if this legislation passed, it allows local communities and local governments to have local control and make the determination on whether or not they want to sell alcohol earlier than the current time?
That's the way I understood the lady's presentation of the bill. What purpose does Coach Williams rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr.
State your
Speaker.
inquiry.
Is it not true down in Baker County, my granddaddy had his own business?
Is he still alive?
No, sir. He passed some time ago. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
If I knew he had it, I wouldn't admit to it up here, Coach. What purpose does Representative Laricchia rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, is it not true that as local control is important, but Adam and Eve had local control in the Garden of Eden and bit that fruit, and it was the fall of humanity, and we keep taking a bite out of that apple?
I believe, yes. What purpose does Representative Erica Thomas rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that one of the first miracles was Jesus turning water into wine?
I didn't see all this coming today on this bill. Let's see. What purpose does Representative Pizzo rise? This can't affect McDonald's.
I don't have anything smart to say, but I'd like to invoke the Chocus rule on this one.
The what?
The Chocus Rule, 133. We do more than McDonald's.
Y'all doing something different than McDonald's down in Columbus.
If the price is right, Mr. Speaker.
What purpose does Representative Laricki rise?
Is it parliamentary inquiry?
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that Jesus didn't turn water into wine on Sunday morning?
If the gentleman so states. Let's see. What purpose does Representative Beasley Teague rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Did Jesus sell that wine, or did he give it away?
All right, we're going to do a couple of more. This could go on all day. What purpose does Representative Bentley rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, is it not true that this bill will or could have some impact on the funeral industry? I just want to know. Just want to know. The Funeral Home Caucus just want to know.
All right, here's the last one. What purpose does Representative Hanson rise? She waves. Well, I said we'd do one more. What purpose does Representative Bennett rise?
Parliamentary
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, is it not true that if this bill passes, that 11 o'clock on Sunday mornings, as pastor of the church, my members may decide to take a veer away from that church and just come late?
You might not want them to come at all after.
Then, Mr. Speaker, I invoke House Rule 133. Thank you.
The lady has that right. Okay. Let's see what the will of the House is. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of Senate Bill 17 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the passage of Senate Bill 17, the ayes are 97, the nays are 64. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. What purpose does Representative Hill rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To make a motion.
State your motion.
To recommit House Resolution 944 back to Rules Committee, please.
Representative Hill has moved that House Resolution 944 be recommitted to the Rules Committee. The clerk will read the caption.
House Resolution 944 by Representative Hill III and others expressing concern regarding organ harvesting in the People's Republic of China.
On the gentleman's motion that House Resolution 944 be recommitted to the Rules Committee, is there objection? Is there objection? Hearing none, it is so ordered. We had one morning order that came in a little late. Chair recognizes Chairman Hatchett for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for indulging me and colleagues. I think this group has gotten quite a lesson in how the system works this morning. We have a group of high school juniors and seniors here from the Lawrence County Citizens Bank of Lawrence County Youth Advisory Council, and we'd like to give them a big welcome. Thank you.
Okay, the House will come back to order. We have one more invite resolution. They were anxiously awaiting that last vote, I think. Clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 1421.
House Resolution 1421 by Representative Stevens of the 164th, Petrie of the 166th, Gilliard of the 162nd, Gordon of the 163rd, Hitchens of the 161st, and others. A resolution recognizing and commending the members of the St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee, Chairman Brian Conahan and Grand Marshal Michael Aloysius Kenny, on their roles in the 2018 St. Patrick's Day Parade in Savannah, Georgia, and for other purposes.
House will be at order. Chair recognizes Chairman Ron Stevens for an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As you might know, we have a little get-together in Savannah. Should be this Saturday. It's going to be a great day. But I got to tell you, whenever we're doing this last bill, and thank goodness the doors are soundproof over here because everybody was doing dilly, as you were debating this thing. So we're paying attention over here. I want to introduce you to our Grand Marshal of our parade, and of course we're going to have the Vice President there marching in the parade as well. But Mike Kinney, would you come up? He's our Grand Marshal. Would you make him welcome for this wonderful day?
Thank you very much for the warm welcome. On behalf of the parade committee, members, the chairman, the executive board, my aides here, my special aides, all of us. And after that last vote, I got one thing to say. Thank you all for what you do for the state of Georgia. You make this a wonderful place to live, and we appreciate your efforts very much. On behalf of Savannah, we invite you guys down this Saturday, March the 17th, to be part of the Feast of St. Patrick, the best parade in the world. And I'll leave you with this, if I may. May love and laughter light your days and warm your heart at home. May good and faithful friends be yours wherever you may roam. May peace and plenty bless your world with joy and long endures. May all of life's passing seasons be the best to you and yours. God bless the United States of America. God bless the state of Georgia. And God bless the Savannah Irish. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Good to have you with us.
It's great to be here.
clerk will read the caption to a group of privilege resolutions.
Celebrating the 101st birthday of Jimmy Mima Lutton. Recognizing and commending Lawrence Hitchens Jr. Recognizing and commending Carl Middleton. Recognizing and commending Andy Dyer on being named the Region 7A Coach of the Year. Recognizing and commending the beauty and culture of South Georgia. Recognizing and congratulating Lori and Sherry Schrage, owners, operators of Sauls of Gainesville. Recognizing and commending Casey Altman for her selection to the inaugural Miller Leadership Academy class. Recognizing and commending Corporal Josh Chambers for his career as a game warden, honoring the life, memory, and selfless service of Officer Chase Lee Maddox. Recognizing March 14, 2018 as Charter School Advocacy Day at the State Capitol. Commending Grayson High School's 2018 valedictorian and salutatorian Shivani Ramdas and Melina Macavia. Recognizing and commending Regional Director Patty Cullen and the River Valley Regional Commission. Recognizing and commending Congregation Beth Jacob on the grand occasion of its 75th anniversary. Recognizing and commending Jim Hendricks on the occasion of his retirement. Commending and congratulating William Durden Gagel. Recognizing and commending Sam Stone on the occasion of his retirement. Recognizing and commending El Centro de Formación Integral de Cigar Family Complex. And for other purposes, that completes the reading of the privilege resolution.
Is there any objection to adopting the privilege resolutions? The chair hears none and the resolutions are adopted. We will be doing page photographs at the rostrum immediately upon adjournment, and we're going to be doing them rather quickly as the chair has a meeting in about 9 minutes. If you have signed up for an announcement, please make your way to the front of the chamber. The chair recognizes for an announcement Chairman Beverly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The House Minority Caucus will meet immediately upon adjournment today, room 506, and the CLOB. We will have deluxe sandwiches. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes for an announcement Chairman Hatchett. Chair recognizes for an announcement the Chairman of the Judiciary Non-Civil Committee, Chairman Golick.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Judiciary Non-Civil will meet at 1 p.m. in room 406, Coverdale. Thank you.
Chair recognizes for an announcement Chairman Parsons.
Thank you, Speaker. Energy, Utilities, and Telecommunications will meet today at 2 o'clock, room 403, the Capitol. And we are also going to meet tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock. Tomorrow's a committee day. Tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock, and need you at both those meetings. Thank you. Thank you, Speaker.
Chair recognizes for an announcement Chairman Knight.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to remind everybody that the Sportsman's Caucus, our annual event, will be on this Wednesday night. Please let me know if you're going to come. We need to make reservations, or know how many people are eating, how many people are going to be there. So again, please let me know, and also you'll find on your desk our information about our annual fundraiser. Please get with me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, let's hold it open before. Chair recognizes for an announcement Representative Bennett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The DeKalb House delegation will meet today immediately upon adjournment in room 403 of the Capitol. Thank you.
Chair recognizes for an announcement Representative Bentley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and happy Monday, colleagues. We have in room 605 of the CLOB lunch for all members of the House and your guests, as we have former NFL player Tyrone Poole here showing off his new pro football rings. So you're all invited to room 605 in the CLOB. Thank you.
Chair recognizes for an announcement Chairman Hatchett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Majority Caucus will meet tomorrow at noon in room 403. Lunch will be served.
Chair recognizes the Majority Leader of the House for a motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move this House stand in recess until 4 p.m. today and then stand adjourned until 10 a.m. Wednesday, March 14th, 2018.
The Majority Leader has moved that this House be in recess until 4 o'clock p.m., at which time we would stand adjourned until Wednesday, March 14th at 10 a.m. All those in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed will say no. The ayes clearly have it. This House will be in recess at 4 p.m. today, whereupon we will stand adjourned until Wednesday, March 14, 2018 at 10 o'clock a.m.